Republicans on the House Intel Committee ripping into the federal government for not unmasking the leak suspect sooner. Media reports, of course, beat them to it yesterday as Teixeira was being arrested. And let's not forget the New York Times report that uncovered these leaks in the first place. The federal government completely unaware of the breach until last Wednesday. Yikes. Intel Committee member Mike Waltz telling the New York Post, quote, "I have serious concerns investigative agencies were behind the media on this given amount of resources Congress gives them." And here's Committee Chair Mike Turner.
How is it that our entire intelligence community, the Ukraine operation is the most sensitive operation that is currently ongoing around the world. How that this type of information could be out and not be found is inexcusable.
In focus now, another member of that important House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Republican Congressman Chris Stewart from the great state of Utah. Well, look, what I just first said to our reporter should be our focus now. They'll adjudicate this young man. What is still knowable, and what are we missing about those documents? There's so many of them.
Yeah, we don't know, and what we fear is that he may have posted other documents that we haven't yet discovered. And we also fear that some of our adversaries are going to take these documents and modify them. We have evidence that this has probably already occurred. They're going to change them and alter them in some way to make them worse, or to make them so that people, our allies, trust us less, or accusations that are not true. But Harris, look, a couple things on this, if I could. Number one is, apparently this young man, and maybe he's innocent, we'll let him go to trial, but very, very clearly the indications are that he broke his oath of office. He promised to defend our national security, to defend our Constitution, and he didn't do that. But someone or something around him failed as well. There's no way in the world he should have had access to these kind of documents. And the ability to apparently to print them off and to leave and then to post them. And let me share my own experience. When I go down to the SCIF as a member of the Intelligence Committee, and we see these types of documents every single day, every document is numbered. They know what documents I saw. There's a log kept of what documents I had access to. There's no way in the world I could walk out of the SCIF with any of those documents in my possession. You can't just print these documents off on any random printer. There's a log of that as well. So this young man betrayed his country, but something broke in the process as well. And we need to look at that and see what other persons were either negligent or duplicitous in this, in allowing this to happen.
I want to get this straight, because many corporations, the one that I work for, is set up this way. When you print something, there is an imprint that's a footprint that's left behind on that massive printer. That you can send it to from your office, whatever. That's a chip in there, and somebody has to regularly check that. We have a lot of staff in the federal government. There's nobody to look to see that classified documents just went out door 77 or something?
Yeah, it's just that's just not the way it is. I mean, there are very strict procedures that you have to follow, and there's a great documentation. Like I said, you just can't print this off on any random printer. There's a log. It's controlled. And something else broke down there. Something along the way was entirely broken to allow him to print hundreds of these documents and just walk out the door with them.
Unbelievable. All right, real quickly, next steps for you on the Hill. I mean, I know that there'll be a Senate briefing starting next week, but what do you think will happen in the coming weeks and months on this? Will it just go away? We have a president who had a trove after trove after trove, some parked by a Corvette in his garage, of classified documents. Is his sensitivity enough to learn more?
Well, one would hope so, but we may be naive in assuming that. We'll have briefings on this next week when we come back into session. We'll learn more, and believe me, those briefings are going to be heated. There's going to be some intense questioning that takes place there. I think the Department of Justice and FBI should be embarrassed once again, by the way. This isn't the first time I believe they should be embarrassed. But the fact the media figured out who this was before they did. And one other thing, Harris, if I could, and that is there's a very obvious different sense of intensity about seeking out these leakers. Look, on the Intel Committee, we saw leak after leak after leak, literally dozens of them, through impeachment, through the Russian investigation, through Mar-a-Lago. that, the media and Department of Justice weren't that interested in pursuing.
Yeah.
But now it appears if there's a leak that embarrasses President Biden, I mean, they're on that thing immediately. And I think it's obvious as well that we've got leakers, Supreme Court leaker, for example, that they can't seem to figure out, but they got this one.
Well, they didn't go after that. At least they didn't publicly say that they were doing that for very long, and then it just kind of went by the wayside, which is what I was wondering.
Yeah.
This can't do that, though. I'm hopeful. Hope is not a strategy, though. You got to get after it. New records continue to shred the president's narrative that he knew nothing about his son's business dealings. According to records reviewed by Fox on April 6, 2016, Hunter Biden met with his attorneys to talk about a subpoena related to a federal investigation into his then business partner, Devon Archer. Later that very same day, logs show Hunter went to an event at the White House and then met with his father in the West Wing. 1 hour later, Hunter's attorney, the one who had met with him earlier that morning, had a meeting of his own with then Vice President Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden had also been hanging out with Hunter's business partner. Here's a photograph of a 2014 golf outing. VP, then Biden, Hunter, and Devon Archer. This seems to be aging very poorly. Watch.
I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I don't know what he was doing. I did not know he was on the board of that company. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
As we go back to the congressman, can we pop that picture back up with the president, his son, and Devon Archer? What do you make of this, Congressman?
Oh my gosh! When you say it doesn't age well, that's a gracious understatement. More than 90 times, Hunter Biden, his associates, his lawyers, executives from Rosemont Seneca, more than 90 times they met in the White House, including with the vice president, including on the very day that Hunter Biden discussed with his attorney a recent subpoena he just received. How in the world could anyone believe the president when he said, I didn't know he was on these boards. I never discussed it with him. For heaven's sakes, he took him to China. Vice President took his own son to China.
And it's a long flight.
It's a long flight. And you know what? I don't think there's anyone who believes that. And shame on the president for thinking the American people are so stupid that they would believe it. And yet he continues to claim that. But the evidence is clear, and the evidence is emerging, and there's more evidence as we look at the bank transactions that are going to make it very, very clear. Not only was he aware, he was involved with it. He was being paid for it. As soon as he left office, he was being paid for it. That's right.
Congressman, the problem is with all the pictures and the receipts and everything, Biden just may not remember. But that would, I would think, encourage him to stop saying nothing happened. I mean, they've got to start to do some opposition research on that side of the aisle if he's going to run for president. I got to let you go.
Okay, thank you.
I'll bring you back. Congressman, great to have you in focus. President.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.